90% of manufacturers are still reporting challenges when trading with EU partners, a figure that's only fallen by 6% since the UK-EU Trade and Cooperation Agreement was signed 3 years ago. This is according to Make UK, the trade body representing UK manufacturers. Of the biggest problems identified, 64%, around two-thirds, cited customs paperwork as a continued challenge. More than half, 52%, identified transport and logistics costs as a problem. I think a significant component of this is increased energy costs, which of course isn't related to Brexit. However, the increased customs paperwork and hold-ups at customs controls mean that Brexit is at least partly responsible for causing increased transport costs. The third issue is that more than 1 in 3 exporters to the EU, 36%, are struggling to demonstrate origin of the goods exported. Origin is now critical to get tariff-free entry to the EU. Goods have to contain a certain amount of UK origin content. These problems are really significant. Here's an extract from some UK government guidance. It says customs declarations are complex. Most businesses that currently trade outside of GB use an intermediary to submit customer declarations. We can also look at some guidance from French customs. When the UK was a member of the EU, exporting to the EU only required very simple documentation. Goods were considered to be in free circulation and therefore not subject to customs controls. The only documentation was for collecting statistics on intra-EU trade. So it basically required one line of data for each transaction. And transactions below a certain threshold were excluded, so smaller exporters didn't even need to fill in this form. The situation now is that detailed documentation must be completed for every single transaction. Great care has to be given to declarations on origin in the customs code because this determines whether the product pays a duty or not, and therefore will be checked. And there's no exemptions for smaller consignments, so even small companies have to complete these forms. My own experience working with exporters before and after Brexit absolutely confirms the findings of the Make UK report. What we can say is that big companies who already export to other places in the world have been able to shift to the increased customs requirements for trading with the EU. They haven't stopped exporting, though there is some anecdotal evidence that some EU customers may be starting to shift away from UK products due to the extra formalities. And of course, the costs of trading have increased because of these formalities making UK-EU trade less competitive. What is really sad is the impact Brexit has had on small and medium-sized companies. I know several small companies that have just given up exporting to the EU because it's too much hassle. And there's still worse to come. A recent report by the British Chambers of Commerce found that 80% of small and medium-sized companies were unaware and unprepared for an avalanche of fast-approaching changes in EU-UK regulations. For example, there are imminent major new environmental and VAT regulations affecting UK exporters to the EU. I'm of the view that, at least for the foreseeable future, we have to accept that Brexit has happened. I'll be making a video shortly which tries to look at the positive aspects of Brexit. However, I don't think it's being unduly negative to identify what's really going on in terms of the impact on business. Whichever side of the debate we're on, it has to be good to see what hard evidence is actually showing. I hope you found this information useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.